Smack. And we got us a nice walleye. It's funny, I switched to a spinnerbait to try to get some bass, and I got a nice walleye. Just goes to show you that they inhabit the same area. We're only fishing in about 4 or 5 feet of weeds. And that guy hit it really nice. Wouldn't be surprised if there's more in there. Most people would keep a walleye like that for eating. You can see how beautiful gold he is, and how nice and wide he is. But you know what? This guy's going to be released. Here he goes. One advantage of casting spinnerbaits is you can fish real shallow water. Okay, this guy can just lift up. You can also work it in and out of the weeds. When it's a little bit deeper, you can let it drop down. When the weeds are a little shallower, you can bring it right up. Pretty largemouth. So I've chosen this morning to fish a wind-blown point. So you can see the point just to the left of me. A couple of swans over there. I'm trying to stay in about 6 to 8 feet of water. So right now I'm in 6.5. And just casting in different directions. My speed is varying. Sometimes I've got my hand on my remote for my electric, and I pause for a second. Most of the time I'm reeling in smoothly. The electric I'm pulsing so that we're going a little bit against the wind and then letting it drift down so that we get closer to the weeds. As soon as I see the weeds like there, I usually hit the electric again. It's like a real interactive game. You know, I've been using a spinning outfit for casting spinnerbaits, and again, it's because of the winds. And some of the spinnerbaits are pretty light. For example, this one is only a 1/4 ounce. And you can see what I've done. This is an open eye spinnerbait, but I like using a snap so I can interchange. So what I've done is taken some monofilament line and I've tied off that loop so that the line can't slide down. Normally you would take the spinnerbait and you would tie your line directly to it. And the reason it's open is so that if the spinnerbait flips over in the cast in the air, it self-rights itself all the time. So I haven't had any issues with the spinnerbait getting caught up. Now this particular one has 2 small blades. You can see one is in between a Colorado and a willow blade, and this is a little Colorado blade. You'll also notice that I've got the skirt on so that it's like a squid. It's not reversed. So this will make it more streamlined, and it goes through the water and drops down a little bit faster. If I wanted to slow my presentation down, I would use more of a Colorado blade. Right here, spinnerbait. So you can see this is a number 5. It's got a little Colorado at the front. And notice that this one has the skirt reverse, which is kind of standard on a spinnerbait. And again, I've had to tie the monofilament there so that my snap doesn't slide up and down. The last one I'm going to show you is one that's got more of a torpedo head. It's like a minnow head. And you can see this one, the skirt is like a squid. And it's got a little bit almost like a willow leaf blade on it, two of them, like diamond shaped. And again, it's going to go through the water really quick. The type of spinnerbait that you use is really important. If you're trying to fish deeper, you should be using like a 1/3 ounce spinnerbait and slow rolling the blades. If you're fishing in shallower water, use a blade that's wider, like a Colorado blade, and do something that some of the tournament pros call burning the spinnerbait, where you're retrieving very quickly to get that spinnerbait just riding above the weeds and below the surface. And a lot of times some of the bass that aren't normally chasing small baits, I don't know if they get aggressive, but they'll come up and just nail the spinnerbait when it's running that fast. The other thing I like about using a spinnerbait is that you can see it in shallow water and actually guide it around the weed clumps. So we're fishing a weed line here in weed bed that's really close to shore. It's got some pockets. So I'll cast my spinnerbait right in the pocket and work it slowly. Twitch it a little bit to get any weeds off it. It seems to keep working. And then if there are trees that are overhanging the water, I try to get as close as possible underneath the trees. Sometimes I hit the trees, that's okay. I've had bass come out and just smash the lure. So very versatile lure where you can't really, you could use a plastic worm or a flipping jig, but a spinnerbait will get any aggressive fish that might be holding in the weeds or underneath the tree to come out and just whack it. Nice largemouth. When they get up around 5 pounds, they fight pretty good. I would try to lift this guy in the boat, but he's too big. So I'm going to use the net. I want to show you how beautiful this largemouth is. There's a 5-pound largemouth on a spinnerbait. You know, if that was in a tournament, he would probably qualify for big fish or close to it. If I can get that spinnerbait out. Okay. That a nice largemouth? So thick. Gorgeous fish. Beautiful fish. That's what it's all about. To make sure he's revived, I'm going to use the net. Energy. Come on. Out of the mesh. Beautiful.